Hey, good afternoon. It's Wednesday, August 10th. And welcome to Everyday Talk 24/7. Thank you for being here. I want to answer a request made by commenter Kirk yesterday about talking more about this idea is God's not just an observer of our sickness. He actually brings it on. And so the theme of today's talk is, as you see from the thumbnail, is sickness random? Just trying to answer directly, Kirk's query there. And so we basically have three ways of explaining the origin of something like sickness, illness. It's random. In other words, there's no reason for it. It just happens. There's some sort of a non-godly, sinister force at work, Satan or something else that is, not in line with God, so that's an evil force by definition, or it's coming from the hand of God. This is not a matter of trying to logic it out or think it out. This is saying, let's find out what the scripture has to say. Does the scripture address this in particular? And as I mentioned yesterday, both Ruth and I felt a tremendous amount of discomfort realizing that the world is not random, that God is working things out for his own purposes, including the cancer that we both had and the cancer that wound up taking Ruth's life. But she had such great comfort because she knew that God was in control. It wasn't a random act. And there's great peace in that. And that's the point I was trying to make yesterday. I don't have to be stressed about the issues of life. May not necessarily cure the disease I have, but I don't have to worry or be stressed about, hey, what's happening here? I know that God is in control. I know he does things for my good. That brings great comfort. So here's some passages of scripture which I believe support that. When Moses is arguing with God in Exodus that he doesn't have the ability to lead Israel because he can't speak, he says, my tongue is slow, it doesn't work well. God turns to him and Moses says this, O Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue. God responds to him saying, who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? That's God taking ownership of the particular physical defect and problem that Moses had. In John 9, Jesus healed a man who was blind. And before that, his disciples are asking him, they saw the blind man, so his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus responded, neither this man nor his parents sinned, Jesus answered. This came about so that God's works might be displayed in him. Again, God taking direct ownership of the blindness of this man. Passage we're familiar with, but it applies here, Romans 8. And we know that God, for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. That's a huge promise. Everything in life is working for good, according to the power and plan of God. If God is not in control of these things, then he can't make that promise. Similarly, in Acts 17, when Paul is talking to the intellectual giants of the Western world, he says to them, God is the one, the God that he's worshiping, that he's talking about, is the one that gives them all their very next breath and controls the exact places where they should live. That's a fair amount of power. That's what God does. So there's nothing random happening here. This is the peace that we have. And then Psalm 139 makes it very intimate. And again, this was a special passage for Ruth and for me, and gave Ruth great comfort because she knew a sovereign God was behind these words. David is saying this about God. You saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. This fits with what Jesus says in the Gospels. There's not a thing we can do to even add even an hour to our lives because God has these things planned. What's David's response to that? How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is some of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. And therefore, when I awake, I am still with you. Do you see the beauty here of being able to take comfort in God's control of our sickness? It's not just random. It's not God just observing us. Oops, I got to work things around here so we can be all right with this. Rather, in his plan and his purpose, he has brought the things, the hard things of our life into focus, into being, so that we would take comfort and honor him. We would praise his great name and be thankful that he is the great script writer. I'm a very bad script writer. God is the perfect script writer. So that's our hope. So no, none of this is random. God is not simply an observer. God is bringing all these things on to cause us to be more in love with him, to trust him, and to bring honor and glory to his name. I believe that's what the Bible teaches. Give that some thought. And we can continue this discussion again. Just leave me some comments in the feedback and we'll stay right with it. So, is sickness random? No. Your loving God knows what he's doing. And he's being faithful. And that's our great hope. Thanks so much for being here today. Check us out everydaytalk247.com. If you haven't subscribed, just turn on post notifications and videos will come right to you. Thank you for your comments, your feedback, your support. It really means a lot. And again, please respond back if you have questions or comments. This is an important thing for us to grasp. May the Lord bless you this day. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow.